Hello, I'm so glad to be with you again as we're looking at Luke chapter 8. We're wrapping up the chapter. In our last video, we saw how there was a man named Jairus, and he was a leader of the synagogue, and his 12-year-old daughter was dying. I can only imagine what that felt like as a father, having had a 12-year-old daughter or son. You can feel the intensity of the moment. But when Jesus is going to take care of this situation, a woman reached out to Jesus, and she touched the hem of his garment, and she got healed. But there was this huge delay that was happening, and I can only imagine what Jairus was feeling. He's probably feeling like, Jesus, you don't understand how sick my daughter is. We need to get there right away, because in his mind, the point at which a miracle could happen had to happen before she died. The thought of her dying was like the 12 o'clock midnight. If they got to midnight, then all hope was gone. Well, sure enough, this little girl did die, and the servant sent a message to Jairus and said, don't trouble Jesus anymore, because your daughter is dead. And Jesus said something that was very powerful. She's not dead, she's just asleep. And so they go to the house, and then they find the people are weeping and everybody's mourning, and it felt as though all hope was gone. And I feel like Jairus probably felt the exact same way. And Jesus again says she's just asleep, and everybody mocked him. Throughout this whole chapter, we're finding whatever Jesus did, some hated him for it, some loved him for it, some were just like, oh, time out, I don't know what to think of it all. But Jesus then actually ministered in this situation, and it says this: they were laughing at Jesus, knowing that she had died. He, however, took her by the hand and called, saying, "Child, arise." Her spirit returned, and she rose immediately, and he gave orders for something to be given to her to eat. Her parents were amazed, but he instructed them to tell no one what had happened. You know what? Jairus had an 11:59, like, Jesus, you got to show up before midnight or it's not going to happen. I hear Christians all the time say, man, you know, Jesus can show up at 11:59, so hold on to the very end. Truth of the matter is, though, I've had more than one occasion in my life where 12 o'clock came, and it seemed as though the moment where a miracle could happen was lost. But I want to live beyond that, because that's limited thinking. Jesus actually pressed beyond midnight and reached out to this girl and said, "Child, arise," and she did. So listen, as long as I live in this earth, I just want to believe that all things are possible. When moments feel as though they're gone, hey, the Holy Spirit might say, hey, I've got something else, and you got to be sensitive to that. But if you really believe in God for something, if he spoke something to your heart, and it feels like it didn't come to pass, just keep believing. In this life, we're called to believe. So let's believe today that God can do the possible, can make possible situations that seem impossible, and God's going to bless it. So maybe that's a word for you today. You feel like the moment came and left? Well, with God, all things are possible.